Well, welcome to Christ and Culture. This is Pastor Jeff Short, your Bible teacher and cultural analyst. And today we're continuing with the topic of AI, artificial intelligence, because a lot of people are talking about AI today. A lot of people are worried about AI and how artificial intelligence might get out of control. It might exceed its boundaries, so to speak, within a computer program and might begin to start following some agenda that it was not given or programmed to follow, and might actually cause a lot of damage on the planet Earth, because this is not just the United States, Silicon Valley companies pursuing AI. It's pretty much all the major superpowers. China is vigorously pursuing AI, trying to be the first one to achieve superintelligence, and Russia and the computer experts there are rushing to try to develop AI fastest and first. And of course, the United States is also out in Silicon Valley, primarily trying to capitalize on the new technology called AI. Now, what is AI? We're going to talk about John Linnick's book, 2084, The Technological Revolution, which is AI. And we're going to not do a total review of his book, but we're going to talk about his book. And I just finished the last page reading it yesterday, and I wanted to give an appraisal of it. I think it's an excellent book, especially for Christians, because he's a theologian. He's an evangelical, Bible-believing Christian theologian from the United Kingdom. And he has a lot to say because he pretty much covers all of the important topics that we have to deal with in the coming future as Christians from a Christian perspective. So it's important that we come at it from a biblical Christian perspective, because there's so much conversation right now from a non-Christian perspective. For example, a lot of people are worrying, like I mentioned before, that AI might take over. They might, these robots or computer programs or machines that we create that mimic and copy and follow the patterns of human thinking and behavior, they might actually get to the point where they can begin to write their own code, begin to program themselves, and they might do things that are totally unpredictable by human beings. In fact, if they get super intelligent, smarter than human beings, they can circumvent safeguards and they can outsmart humans who created them. And that could be a terrible thing, because then there could be issues about power and control and surveillance, that they would take over and begin to control the world in ways that humans could not stop. So a lot of materialistic, secular people are worried about that. Now, as Christians, we realize that God is in control. He is the greatest, all-powerful, all-knowing, all-present being. There is nothing greater than God. So it doesn't matter how big AI gets. It doesn't matter how smart AI gets. It doesn't matter how technologically sophisticated artificial intelligence grows every year exponentially. It doesn't matter that AI is smarter than the human race, because there's a being that is always going to be greater than AI. And God will not allow a rival God to come on the scene and thwart his plans. He has already an agenda. He has already put in print in the Bible prophecy about the end times. And that prophecy and that end time scenario is not going to be changed by AI, because God can overrule and override or destroy completely AI. So there's nothing that man can create that can thwart the will and plan of God. So as Christians, that is comforting to know that AI is not going to be the last word concerning the history of humanity, that God will have the last word, and he has plans for people. He has plans for you. He has plans for me. He has plans for the planet Earth and all of humanity. He has plans for the future. And these plans will take place, whether AI is here or whether AI is gone, or whether AI succeeds beyond anybody's imagination, or whether it fizzles out as a promising technological breakthrough, but then fails to keep its promises. It doesn't matter in the long run how AI develops or what happens with AI, as far as God's plans will come about, because God is God and AI is not. And even though AI can become something bigger and more of a problem than we can ever imagine, it will never become a greater problem for God. And it's not even close. So that is something that as Christians we can interject into the conversation and say, we don't have to fear or worry or trouble ourselves as far as AI wiping out humanity. We have to be wise in our use and application of AI, because it's like anything else, just like fire. If you play with fire, it can burn you, it can burn your house down, burn the forest down, and burn all kinds of trees down and all kinds of things. We've seen that out in California. Someone setting fires in the forest, and it can blow through an entire town and destroy the whole town and homes and livelihoods. So anything can be misused and it can get out of control. So we have to be careful with what we do in developing any technology, just like nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons theoretically could destroy the entire world if the superpowers all launch their nuclear weapons. And that's a real threat. But again, nuclear weapons are not going to be the last word on the human race, because God has plans, and it doesn't include the whole world being destroyed and all human beings on it by nuclear weapons or AI or any other thing, because God is in control and we are not. So that's a comforting thought. But the whole topic of AI is fascinating because it's becoming something that is a conversation starter and interesting. So let me talk about John Lennox's book, 2084, and the AI Revolution. It's a good starting place if you don't have a background or you haven't read up or caught up with the latest on AI. There's also a television series that came out about 10 years ago or 10 to 15 years ago called Person of Interest. And it's interesting because this series actually was prophetic in talking about a machine that can survey everyone through the use of cameras and audio equipment and basically keep track on every person in the United States. And it can predict to a high degree who will be a criminal and who will attack someone or when someone's life is under threat and so on and so forth. And the premise of the series was that this inventor came up with a AI machine that can think similar to humans and can take action on its own and so on and so forth. And it's a real interesting series. I think it's about 4 or 5 seasons long, so they actually deal with this topic. It's also got some really sort of human interest fluff in it that's really a little annoying, but it has some really interesting ideas that explores the idea of what happens to AI if it gets out of control and what measures were taken to try to stop AI from taking control and not following directions and so on and so forth. So that's an interesting series. It's called Person of Interest, and it's available. I think it's available on the internet to watch, Amazon Prime, and different streaming networks. But a good place to start for anyone really looking to dig into the topic is this book by John Lennox, 2084 and the AI Revolution. Let me just read a little bit of the blurb here. This is from the Amazon website. Will technology change what it means to be human? You don't have to be a computer scientist to have discerning conversations about artificial intelligence and technology. We all wonder where we're headed. Even now, technological innovations in machine learning have a daily impact on our lives, and many of us see good reasons to dread the future. Are we doomed to the surveillance society imagined by George Orwell? It's another important book, George Orwell's 1984. It envisions a society where everyone is watched, and it's called Big Brother, the all-knowing, all-seeing government, totalitarian state. Somewhat similar to what China right now is developing, where they use face recognition and they track people and they keep tabs on everyone. And then they can predict what this person will do and who is loyal to the state and who is disloyal. And they have a social credit system where if you do good things for the state, you get credits on your account. And if you do bad things in respect to the central planning government communist state, you have things taken out of your account. So really manipulative, controlling. But a lot of people are looking to that paradigm and saying, hey, that's what could happen if we fall into the hands of AI that's not under our control. Mathematician and philosopher John Lennox believes that there are credible responses to the daunting options of AI poses, and he shows that Christianity has some very serious, sensible, evidence-based things to say about the nature of our quest for superintelligence. Yes, and it's really interesting, and I agree totally with him as far as the idea of consciousness in these machines. He does not believe that these machines will ever achieve some kind of human consciousness or consciousness in general. Self-awareness, the ability to reflect on who it is and why it's here and ask questions like, who am I and why am I here and where am I going and what is the ultimate goal of life and the meaning and purpose of life and philosophical questions. Now, what we're finding out is that computers and software programs and AI agents can copy and mimic the speech patterns and sound very similar to human beings. That's a fact. That's already happening today. And they can also learn by going on the internet and listening in or transcribing millions and millions of conversations in chat boxes and emails and all over the internet and articles, and they can learn how humans react and interact with each other and how to talk to one another and how humans respond to situations. In other words, it's a huge mass learning program that these software computers are learning, and they can copy human beings. But just because a voice sounds just like a human being and can carry on a conversation like a human being and even appear to have human qualities, it's all just imitation. It's all just a copy. And I agree with John Lennox in saying that there will never really be an achievement of consciousness because only God can create us in his own image and his likeness, and only God can infuse a soul into a human body. We can't give a machine or a computer a soul. So we don't have to feel threatened about that. Although we will be very amazed at how lifelike these AI agents can come across and appear. And that's going to be a scary thing when you see robots and AI voices sounding just like a human being and talking just like one and doing the work of human beings too. It says, this newly updated and expanded edition of 2084 will introduce you to a kaleidoscope of ideas. Key recent developments in technological enhancement, bioengineering, and in particular artificial intelligence. So these AI agents will become very, very intelligent. That means that they can solve problems that human beings traditionally have only been able to do. Consideration of the nature of AI systems with insights from neuroscience, the way AI is changing how we communicate, implications for medicine, manufacturing, and military, its use in advertising and automobiles, education, and the future of work. So all of these areas are being changed by AI even today. Medicine, there could be breakthroughs. There could actually be cures for cancer that AI, learning how to think like human beings and then given the freedom to think beyond human beings, could come up with a way to deal with cancer, to cure it or to basically stop it. All kinds of medical breakthroughs. And in the military, you could have a whole defense system of a country given over to AI and its ability to respond in a split second. Today, humans have to see a threat coming and then send it up the chain of command. It has to go through all kinds of layers of authorities. And then, for example, like a nuclear strike, you would have to have approval by the president, and all of this takes time. And by the time the president gets the information and makes a decision, it could be over because the nuclear threat could have exploded and destroyed the entire nation. But if you have it on AI, it can respond immediately to a threat and neutralize it. But yet again, there are the dangers because it could also have a false trigger and then launch a nuclear strike against another country when there really wasn't a threat. So all of this is something has to be thought through. How data is used today for surveillance and thought control. So yeah, you could have a centralized government like China and install all these cameras everywhere, all up and down the streets and in front of every home, and they could monitor and track every movement you make. Every time you step outside the door, they could actually pay you for control cameras inside the home. They could say, well, we'll give you $100 for every camera in your home. And you could say, well, that's a good deal. That's a lot of extra money I could make every month. But then they would have access to everything you do and see every move you make. So you're giving up your control. Will people do that? In China, they're starting to do that very thing. They're giving up their freedom in order for material goods. The rise of virtual reality and the metasphere, transhumanist agenda and long-termism. So transhumanism is basically you're melding technology with the human brain. So you have brain implants that would give you access, say, to the internet. So you could sit there and while you're walking down the sidewalk, you could be accessing the internet. You would have this world of unlimited knowledge. That would be a scary world where you have people walking around with this intelligence that's beyond anything we've ever seen in a single human being. Instead of going to the library and looking up and running down the aisles and finding the right book and reading and finding the information, you just go access the internet from your mind, from your brain. And that's a scary thought. Agreements and disagreements that scientists and experts have about the future of AI. Yeah, there is a big controversy right now on, is it this big existential threat that a lot of people, alarmists, are really telling us that, hey, we don't know what's happening. We don't know what's coming in the next few years. And it could put everyone out of work because AI could take over for almost every job. And so you hear these people, and they're not just fringe people. They're actually some of the founders of the AI project and people high up in the industry saying, yeah, we don't really know what's happening in our programs with respect to AI. We can't control it. We don't even know what it's doing. And so on one side, and then other people are saying this is going to usher in a world of superabundance. You have people like Elon Musk who are saying that AI agents will basically take over the productivity of our workforce and produce products without humans having to go to work. And so there will be basically citizens who are able to live their lives without actually working because of the abundance economically that's produced by AI productivity. So how does that work out? If you have a whole population of people that don't go to work, what's that going to do? Usually that spells disaster, because the Federal Reserve Board, one of their goals is to always keep employment within certain range and interest within certain range. Well, if AI hits and takes away a vast majority of jobs, how is that going to affect employment? It's going to throw the whole equation off, and you may get social unrest because people don't know what to do. They don't have anything to do. They don't have to go to work. AI is doing all of their work, and there's going to have to be some kind of income from some source. But if you can't get a job, if all the companies hire AI agents to do all the work, then how do you get your money? The government's going to have to give out money, but yet we're already broke as far as the United States, $38 trillion in debt. So what is going to happen economically? It could throw out a lot of problems. It says the urgent need for regulation and control in light of development of large language transformers like ChatGPT. So regulation, a lot of whistleblowers are saying, hey, we need to regulate this from a government level, making sure that we keep the AI agents within the boundaries of our control. We don't want these things to get out of control and escape the programming boundary we've set and get on the internet and cause havoc. And we shouldn't assume that they're going to naturally be good for humans. They could be bad for humans and not care about humans, have other goals. They might, for example, they might have a program somewhere in them that says we should explore space. Okay. So what happens to an AI agent that goes rogue and says, hey, I want to explore space, but I don't have the resources. And so I have to find the resources on Earth. And so it goes about trying to figure out how to do that. And it sees that humans are consuming a lot of the resources. So it says I have to eliminate humans so that these resources can be used for the exploration of outer space. And so it doesn't know what it's doing because it's not self-aware. It's not self-conscious. It doesn't have morality. So it says, oh, okay, that's an easy problem to solve. I'll come up with a way to destroy humanity and then use the resources to do one of my programmed goals is to explore space. So humans are in the way. And that is a fear of a lot of people. And it's something to think about. Key insights from Scripture about the nature of human beings, the soul, moral sense, our future, and what separates us from machines. Yes, so as Christians, we have a basis for saying, no, we will never see a day when there will be a self-conscious, self-aware entity, because that is the image of God. And man cannot create man, only God create man. Man can create a entity that is copying us and mimicking us and pretending in a very sophisticated way to be human, but it can never actually become human, or it cannot become self-reflecting, self-aware, that kind of thing. In a straightforward, accessible language, you'll get a better understanding of the current capacity of AI and the potential benefits and dangers, the facts and fiction, as well as future implications. Since the questions posed by AI, daunting as they might be, affect most of us, they demand answers. The 2084, the AI Revolution, updated and expanded edition, has been largely written and ignite the curiosity of all the readers. Whatever the worldview, Linux provides clear information and credible answers that will bring real hope for the future of humanity. So I don't know why he chose 2084. I don't know. There's no specific, I don't think, reason for 2084. A lot of the people involved in AI say that these AI computer machines will probably reach a level of knowledge and intelligence greater than human beings in 10 years. So that's way before 2084. Maybe it's just a arbitrary date that he chose that sounded futuristic. But this book is a good introduction to AI. I was able to get a hold of the audiobook, so I listened on Audible to this book, and John Lennox actually reads the whole book. So you can hear the author read it. And it does get you thinking as a Christian. It prepares you to begin to process all of this. And as Christians, we need to be part of the conversations. We need to actually be leading the way because we have the truth. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And we have the truth. We have the Word of God, the Bible. We have all the wisdom in that Bible, in the Old and New Testaments, to be able to deal with whatever realities appear in connection with artificial intelligence. And we'll be able to have a perspective that'll keep our sanity. I mean, it's going to be difficult in the next few years because you're going to see an increase in humans interacting with these computers, these AIs, these machines. We already see it with the Echo Dot devices put out by Amazon that a lot of us have in homes. I have one, and I ask it for the weather. I just ask the question, what's the weather going to be? What's the temperature outside? And the thing answers me as if it's a human being. I have also experienced on my Apple iPhone, I call out the search engine for that and ask it a question, and it will reply to me. And I can ask another question, and it will stay on the same subject, which is really amazing. I have used it to diagnose problems for my car and get into a conversation, actual conversation, a back and forth with the AI agent on the iPhone. And it'll tell me to check this, and I said, okay, I've checked this, and this is what I see, and then it'll say, oh, good, you saw that, okay, then that means this, check this, and I'm actually carrying on a conversation with a machine, a software program. So we're going to see more of that, but we have to remember as Christians that these are not people, these are programs, these are machines. They don't have feelings. They are not human. They neither like you nor hate you. They're totally indifferent to you. They can act like they like you. That's what customer service AIs do. They can act like and express words of care and concern for you. And that also may happen in the medical field where you call and tell them what your ache and pain is, and this agent will seem sympathetic and seem caring and seem loving and kind, but they're not really loving and kind. They're just programmed to sound that way. So we're going to have to keep our wits about us and deal with the psychological and emotional challenge of dealing with non-human entities that are sounding human. And we're not even getting into the robots that can come into our home and look human and sound human, but are not human. And as Christians, we need to be able to process all of this with our Christian faith. Hope that's a good review of this book, and we will see you back next week. God bless.